Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. It is time to do a replacement for the live stream that I was going to do today that ended up not happening. Thank you, NVIDIA, for removing the broadcast option from your app. So, since that happened, I have to do a canned video. There are other options for me to use, but to spin it up really short notice, not going to happen. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to record it and put it up. And if you're watching long enough, you will hear a keyword that will allow you to be one of the 10 winners of a Steam key for a game from Slitherine. They kindly provided me with these 10 keys for you guys. As part of their 25th anniversary celebration. So, what we'll do here is I will give you the keyword at some point in the video, somewhere in the middle-ish, I would guess, middle, I'm not going to give it away. I do want you to watch at least some of this. This is an interesting game, whether you're familiar with it or not. And I know I mostly do tabletop stuff, but I also do PC. And this is one of the best, bar none, war games on the computer. Bar none, like I said. This is basically a hexed encounter, or a hex encounter, hex and counter game that you would play, on your tabletop. But it's been put into a PC format, and they have really leveraged the power of the computer to do things here that you would not really be able to do on a tabletop game. It would be a monster game of epic, and I mean truly epic proportions. The rulebook is roughly akin to the size of the rulebook for a World at War, which is, of course, a monster game from GMT Games. With global scope, this is simply the Western theater, the Mediterranean and Northern Europe theaters of the Second World War between mid-1943 and mid-1945, basically. So, incredibly detailed, though. And there is, of course, War in the East, which has two versions. The second one is fantastic. Probably the biggest game ever, war game ever created in terms of the information involved in it. It's just like ridiculous. And then there's War in the Pacific, which is older, and I keep wishing they would redo that one because the scope of that is obviously pretty enormous as well. But the Admiral's Edition is still worthy of play. It's been around a long time, but it's still a great game. The great ones never go out of style. At least I hope not. Anyway, to the matter at hand, it is War in the West, Gary Grigsby's War in the West. Operation Torch DLC will be the main topic, though I may go beyond that a little bit. But essentially what we're looking at here is the first and only expansion for War in the West, which in its original release covered the invasion of Sicily, aka Operation Husky, on through the end of the war in Europe, whether that was with Berlin falling to the Soviets or to the Western Allies. Either can happen. That was the scope of the game. The scope with Operation Torch having been added is it adds, in addition to a Torch to Tunisia scenario of I think 37 turns. Each turn in this game is 1 week, so that's 37 weeks. It runs from November of 42 to July of 43, so not quite a year. And it only covers the fighting in North Africa, starting just after the landings by the Allies in Western North Africa, in the French territories of Africa, Morocco, Algeria. And so it starts just after that. The Allies are already, they've moved up. They're basically in Tunisia now, or nearing Tunisia in some cases. The main force is nearing Tunisia from the west. Meanwhile, Monty and the 8th British Army, having basically kicked the Germans out of Egypt at El Alamein, they are now advancing into Egypt and approaching Tobruk. So the Germans and the Italians are being squeezed from both sides, and that is the scope of what Operation Torch's main scenario covers. There are additional scenarios as well, so we will see some of that too. Okay, so let's talk about the scenarios that come with the game. So we'll start with the first one, which is called Rommel Attacks 43. Now in here we've got all of the scenarios and campaigns, both from the original game and from Operation Torch. So looking at Rommel Attacks 43 right here, right? So this is a little later than, Torch began. So we're in February, and you see fresh and inexperienced American forces are rapidly building strength in southern Tunisia in order to plan a breakthrough across the Tunisian plain and cut the Axis position in two. With the British 8th Army stalled in Libya due to an overextended supply line, Rommel and Arnhem here, pooled their mobile forces and launched a counterattack against the American Second Corps, but Rommel and Arnhem can't agree on the overall objective. Rommel wants to destroy the Americans and drive to the coast, while Arnhem wants to gain better defensive ground and dig in. So this is a relatively short 5-week campaign or scenario, really. And each side gets only 2 admin points per game, or per turn rather. Those are your currency for doing kind of your admin stuff. I'll get into that a little bit more when we actually look at the game. So basically, this is a good one to play as the Germans if you want to have fun. An Allied victory in this one is tough to do. Basically, this covers, Kasserine and what happened there. The second one is Battle for Tunisia 43. So that's kind of an expansion on this, and that one's up here because they're in alphabetical order. And this one has the same start date, but runs until June, so it's longer. It's 19 turns, right? So this is the same thing, right? Rommel's Panzer Army Africa and Arnhem's 5th Panzer Army attempt their last major counteroffensive with operational objectives that are conflicting, right? So it's the same, but it's longer. Because this is where your the Allies' material and air power will build up over time, and the writing is on the wall, so to speak. So this is just simply pretty much a longer version, which allows time, assuming you don't get your butt whooped if you're playing as the Allies, gives you time for your advantages to really start to take effect. So it has a slightly bigger scope. Then we have the big one, what I call the big one. This is the Torch to Tunisia. And this scenario covers your entire, basically the entire scope of the fighting from Operation Torch till the end for the Axis in Africa. 2 fronts. You've got your Monty in Libya, and you got the other Allied forces in Western Africa pushing on the Germans and Italians from 2 sides. So this is the big one, the long one, 37 turns. This is the one I was talking about originally. Then we come to scenario 4, where we shift a little bit out of North Africa, and we get a little bit more for France and Italy. So Operation Diadem to the Gothic Line 44. This one is in Italy. So this obviously starts in May of 44. So this is before the Allies liberate Rome, which actually happened on the same day as D-Day. That would be June 6th, of course. And so, yeah, as it says here, the Allied forces in Italy had been stopped cold at Monte Cassino and its ambitious amphibious landing at Anzio since January. Now, a month before the Allied invasion of France, the Allied forces in Italy will execute its largest offensive in order to break through the Gustav Line, link up with the attacking forces out of Anzio, and draw German strategic reserves away from France. The Allies would crack the Gustav Line and liberate Rome, but would again find itself unable to quickly break the newly constructed Gothic Line. So Italy became a slog, and then it became a sideshow because everybody's focus was on France and then Germany. But this will give you an opportunity to have to see what you can do over 20 turns, 20 weeks in Italy, with at first the Germans not distracted by what's going on in France to them then being distracted by what was going on in France. So that is scenario 4 here. Scenario 5 is Operation Dragoon, which of course was the invasion of southern France, originally known as Operation Anvil. And it was considered to be kind of a sideshow by the Allies, and it actually turned out to be a pretty good campaign for them, a very effective one. So as you can see here, it says originally much bigger in scope, it was reduced in scale to provide more troops, aircraft, and landing craft for D-Day. Even though weakened by sending reinforcements to Normandy, the Axis troops posed a challenge. So this took place in August of '44, as you can see up here. And it was on the southern coast, so the Mediterranean coast of France. And yeah, it's an interesting operation. Completely different than D-Day, but arguably played a very significant role in driving the Germans out of France. Okay, then we come to scenario number 6, which is breaching the Gothic Line. So this is after the last Italian one we saw, although they overlap a bit. This is August 25th of '44 to the basic end of the war on May 4th. Having broken through the Gustav Line, Allies have pursued the Axis forces as they have fallen steadily back to their next line of defenses, known as the Gothic Line. This formidable position crosses the breadth of Italy. Following the line of the Apennine Mountains, the Allies are now poised to commence their assault whilst the Axis stand almost ready. So this was a tough go historically for the Allies. So your challenge here with over 36 turns would be to do better than the Allies did historically, given the fact that the majority of your best equipment, material, manpower is all going to be headed into Normandy and through Normandy into France as the forces there, push their way towards the Rhine and ultimately into Germany across the Rhine. So you want to try to break through to the Po River Valley as quickly as possible. That is scenario 6. And then we have air campaigns. Okay, so there are 2 air campaigns, Point Blank, which is right here, Point Blank Directive. So this is, again, it runs for a little less than a year, 42 turns. Point Blank Directive of June 14th set the priorities for the Allied Combined Bomber Offensive. This provided coordination between the RAF Bomber Command and the U.S. 8th Air Force in the prosecution of strategic bombing against Germany. With the 8th U.S. Air Force now at acceptable levels, the time to reap the whirlwind has arrived. So this is the start of the around-the-clock bombing of Germany. This scenario is an air-only campaign and allows the Allied player to look at different strategies for targeting German industry, perhaps concentrating attacks on aircraft factories, vehicles, or oil and fuel production. An Axis player should seek to defend the fatherland against these steadily increasing Allied bomber forces. So as I think, well, maybe I didn't mention it in this video, but the air war was incredibly important in the Western theater of World War II, and that certainly shines through. Then the 8th scenario, also an air scenario, is the weakest link. So on September 14th, 1944, orders were issued which removed the strategic air forces from the command of Eisenhower. This move heralded a new phase in the bombing campaign against the Third Reich. The first priority for targeting was to recommence attacks against oil and fuel production. So this is an air-only campaign which concentrates on the last big push of the strategic bombing campaign. As the Luftwaffe begins to crumble, the Allied player can wreak havoc across Germany and beyond. An Axis player should seek to defend the fatherland again against the steadily increasing Allied bomber forces. 20 turns in length from September of 44 to February of 45. Okay, and then there are campaign scenarios as well. You have a 1945 campaign. So this goes from the bulge to the end, basically. December 16th, 44 to June 2nd, 45. 25 turns, of the last little bit of the war, the last 6-ish months of the war in Europe, from the Germans' last-ditch effort via Wacht am Rhein to the basically the end of the Third Reich, right? So so you get to start right before the Bulge Offensive and carry on through the end with the 1945 campaign. Then we have what I think is the most interesting part of this particular DLC. It is the 4th Supreme Command. And before I get into that, I'm going to give you our keyword for the 10 free keys from Slitherine for their games on Steam. And that is going to be Tunis, Tunis, the city in Tunisia, the capital thereof. So again, Tunis. So put it in the comments. Maybe throw it in a sentence. We'll throw some people off the track, Throw it in a sentence, put Malta in there too or something that, Let's see if we can give these keys to people who actually watch the video and not people who look at the comments, see a bunch of people saying Tunis and understand immediately that, you have to put Tunis in there. So just put that in a comment and I will reply to it and reply to it with my email address, basically. And then you can send me an email and I will send you the key. All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, again, Tunis, Tunis, don't forget, 4th Supreme Command. This is an alternate history one. It's a modification of the stock 43 to 45 campaign with significantly stronger Axis forces. So the basis for this alternate history is that Hitler is killed in March of 43 by a bomb planted on his Condor aircraft by Henning von Tretschkow. Okay, and in the ensuing chaos, the Wehrmacht seized power in Germany and declared the Oberste Heeresleitung, which is Supreme Command, similar to World War I when Hindenburg and Ludendorff were in command of the 3rd Supreme Command. So that's what this is about. Okay, so the scenario setup has been amended to address some of the weaknesses in the Axis setup in order to allow a different game experience. Right? They're trying to keep things reasonably plausible while boosting the abilities of the Germans, or the Axis in general, but more specifically probably the Germans, to put up a stiffer fight against the Western Allies. So you're going to have more oil and fuel availability, more aircraft and AFV production, pilot availability, and a slightly stronger starting setup. Okay, so some things are hard-coded, so they can't really change a lot of stuff. But, they unlocked the constraints of historical production by increasing the size of the Wietze oil field located near Celle in northern Germany, which I think is mentioned, right in here. Okay. And production streamlined, etc. Rommel evacuated most of the Africa Corps to allow a stronger starting position. And with that having been said, you as the Allied player, if that's the side you choose to play, you can retarget your invasion forces on turn 1 instead of hitting the historic Husky beaches in Sicily. You can retarget wherever you want. Okay. This one I think is really interesting. I have not played it yet, but it seems like this would be a really interesting one to play. Just to see how things might have been different had the Germans had better command, I guess. All right, so having said all that, right, let's actually maybe take a look at this one. And we'll take a look, and we're going to see what all we have here, right? So, as always, we start with the, whenever you start, you get the automatic air directive creation. Okay, so you have your tactical column, your strategic column, and your strategic night column, right? Because we have strategic day bombing and strategic night bombing. So this would be the 8th Air Force, this would be RAF Bomber Command. Then we have the tactical air forces. Okay, so at this point in the war, it is July of 43, so we do not have any ground forces in France. Nothing in Northern Europe on the ground. So your tactical air from Northern Europe is pretty much going to be limited to not much because of the ranges involved, right? You're going to take off from southern England and fly to France, northern France, and that's about as far as you theoretically would go for your tactical stuff. You know, some of your fighters will be escorting the bombers. The main effort from England at this point in the war, for sure, is the bombing campaign. So that's your strategic stuff. And we have it set up right here for oil and fuel during the day. And at night, it's bombing manpower, which is a code word for civilians, basically, right? Terror bombings. To put the most accurate yet least, I don't even know what I want to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Calling it something that's slightly less upsetting, I guess. I don't know. We all know that World War II was total war at its worst, and there were a ton of civilians who were killed. So, yeah, you can make your own call on whether you want to bomb their manpower or not. You can always retarget stuff. The thing about bombing at night is it's a lot less accurate for obvious reasons, and that's largely why they chose to do area bombing, which meant bombing cities, and when you bomb cities, civilians get killed. Anyway, that was a digression I did not plan on making, so let's move on. All right, so here in tactical Northern Europe, we're just going to leave it on nothing. We don't really need anything here. One thing I will say about your air directives, right? You can let the AI manage everything, right? Or you can do it yourself. You can say, oh, I want to assign new air directives, which I really don't right now. These are fine in general. You can also click this and have the AI do it all, as I said. You can have amphibious support, which means we're invading and we want to protect our landing craft and attack the troops on the beachhead, or protect our troops on the beachhead and attack the enemy troops on the beachhead. And so we will have that on for the south. I'm not planning on retargeting the invasion of Sicily. Let's just keep it simple here for this first look kind of thing. Having said that, what are we going to attack, right? We got ground support at medium, air superiority high. We want to knock the Luftwaffe out of the sky. And the, Regio or Aeronautica, the Italian Air Force, I think. Anyway, that's what we want to accomplish. For our ground attack, we're going to highly target airfields and ferries, right? Ferries, because there's a ferry that will carry troops from mainland Italy over to Sicily. We want to prevent that as possible. We will use medium targeting or medium priority on hitting the ports and interdicting their supplies and troop movements. Then low will be unit, railway, and we will not worry about rail yards. And again, we're going to have amphibious support south turned on. All right, this I will leave alone. There is some ground attack here as well for the south with the strategic stuff. So your heavies will, they will also be attacking in support of the invasion. They'll be hitting the airfields and some interdiction. the big boys, your B-24s and so on, you know, the big bombers, they're not going to be super effective at hitting tactical targets. So, I mean, that was a lesson also learned in the Pacific, where they tried to use B-17s to attack ships and all kinds of stuff, and it really did not work. Same kind of thing here. So we're good with that. We're going to move on. I'm just going to actually advance through the air directive, and we'll get to the ground stuff with movement and so on and so forth, right? So all these air missions are being flown. We're hitting various places. You can see strategic bombing took place. It looks like we hit Cologne. And something else, it flashes pretty quickly, but we can always take a look. You can see there's a lot of stuff going on, hitting various places in Germany as well. All kinds of missions being flown. And you can see the number of sorties down here ratcheting up, up, up. And the Germans, or the Axis, I should say, I always refer to them as the Germans. The Italians were still in the fight at this point in the war. They had not surrendered. So you do have Italian forces mixed in here as well. Just like, you know, calling the Allies by either the British or the Americans would be wrong. Saying Germans for the Axis at this point in the war is also wrong. Anyway, we're waiting on this. We've flown 20,000 and counting sorties this week. And the progress bar is not yet full. So we're probably going to crank past 25,000 here pretty soon. We're pounding Sicily while pounding Germany. And we didn't quite get to 25. Oh, we did. We got to 29,236 sorties. We lost 612 aircraft. 1,351 were damaged. We destroyed 134 enemy aircraft and damaged 276. Bombers took a beating during the air campaign. Okay, the bombers flying over Germany took a beating. So you can see here you've got Bomb City, right, from RAF Bomber Command with Bomber Harris in charge. They bombed Essen, Cologne, and Hamburg. They had excellent weather. The intensity was medium. It was a night raid, right? RAF at night, AMIs during the day. You got raid info here. You can see they were targeting manpower and the locations that were hit. So the main mission for this was Cologne, but we also hit Frankfurt, Essen, Dusseldorf, Cleve, and Bielefeld. And this is what the targeting, this is what they did in terms of targets that were hit. You can see some of the percentage for the damage effect. 43% manpower in Cleve. They hit the rail yards. That did some decent damage as well. So you can always twist open if you want to see some stuff like that. You have 80 raids here, so this would be a big one. Now this is being flown by tactical air forces, okay? So you can see that these were flown to targets largely in occupied areas, right? A lot of France. And then, yeah, you can see France, 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 a whole lot of France. All France. Interdiction and airfields and units that were hit. And you can click on it and it'll show you the battle. So here it is, right? This is where we hit. And you can show the details and it will show you the details. And this attack didn't really do much. It was a recon mission. Okay, but you have your RAF commander here, and they only faced anti-aircraft fire 37 millimeter. So all of these here, we have our battle marker turned on. These are all, this is air combat, so these would be dogfights. Right? We have 24 BF-109 G6s on the Axis side, and on the Allied side from the RAF, we have 12 Mosquitoes, 8 Spitfires, 28 Typhoon 1s, 16 Boston 3s and 16 Mitchell 2s. So these are bombers, right? You got bombers and you got the covering fighters. And then if you click on details, you can see if anything was shot down. Go to air combat. You got several kills. Looks like some of the some of these 109s from JG2 shot down 5, and all 5 were Typhoon 1Bs. So that tells you what happened there in the air losses. The Allies lost 5 Typhoon 1Bs, right? So you get all your information. And you can do that for ground battles as well. And you can toggle it off by just clicking that again, and now it's off, right? So if we wanted to look at some stuff here, so this is our most zoomed in. All right, so most of you, I'm sure, can tell what these are by looking at these counters, right? Here we have what? An infantry division. Click on it. Oh, I want battles off. Why is this not turning off? There. All right, sorry about that. You click on the unit and you can see that it can move. So I'm not going to click again, or you actually will move. Now let's talk about what's on this counter. You've got 10 equal 20. Now if I open this guy up, all right, so the 10 refers to the combat value. They both actually do. It's rounded down. So this is 10.43 for offense, 20.87 for defense. That translates to 10 equals 20. Now the normal, this is actually a different view of the counter. This is offense and defense combat value. If we hit Z, which is a hotkey, we can change it to what you see up here, which is 10-16, which is its offensive combat value and its movement rating. Now again, if we go back in here, you can see what kind of information you get about this stuff, right? So you got its combat value, you've got its table of equipment. If you click on that, it'll tell you what it should have and what it does have. And this is 100%, so it's going to match up 100%. Okay. Now you can do this, turn this on, and you'll get the mapping, and it'll show you what the actual makeup is. So we have 24 Humber Mark III armored cars and 28 Humber Mark IV armored cars. You've got your Piats, you've got rifle sections, right? Got 6-pounder anti-tank guns, 2-inch mortar, your 303 machine guns, etc., etc. Bren mortar carrier, all kinds of stuff, right? That's your details. Then over here, you would show what it will be upgraded to when its next upgrade takes place. So here you can see this is its current table of equipment, order of battle. 43B, that's the model of the infantry division. That's how granular this game is. Okay, this is the actual TOE for a 43B British infantry division. This is what its kit out would be, and this is what it will be in May of 44 when it gets upgraded. Pretty cool. I mean, and you can see when it's going to happen. So that is really cool. Here's its logo, of course, then in here. And now up here in this corner, we have this over here. That's fuel. So this is the fuel status of this infantry division. It probably doesn't need a lot of fuel. It needs fuel for its armored cars, right? And maybe some of the trucks and so forth that might be pulling some of their guns. But it's not an armored division, and it's not mechanized infantry or motorized infantry, so they're not heavily using fuel. Now, if you click this, actually I can't do it while it's open, but if we watch this green triangle, it might stay green all the way through, but it might not. Okay, so it's still green, and now we're looking at ammunition. These are what's called soft factor. This is units attached. Then we have supply priority, and you can see it is no longer green. It's more of a like an orangey color, I guess. And we can switch it again. This is nothing. So you turned it off, and then you would have morale. And its morale is not great. And if we actually look at it, you can see its morale value. It's right here, 65. Its nationality, it is British. Its supplies and what it needs. So overall supply situation's pretty good, 97%. That's right here as well. So you can see kind of a condensed view here and a detailed view here. Its fuel is basically close to 100. It's 99%. Its ammo is also 96%. And then its support, that's just the support elements. All right. And then in here, each one of these ground elements has an experience level. And it tells you how many are ready. And then over here is its fatigue level. So as you are in combat, you get more and more fatigued, right? Combat quickly grinds down men and equipment. And what would you do in that situation? You have statuses here for your units that can be ready or refit or reserve. So under ready, that means you're combat ready. They're going to throw you into the line and you're going to be able to, or expected to, do your job. Then you have refit, which, hey, I've been fighting for a while and I've taken some casualties. My equipment's beat up. Put me in refit mode, pull me off the line, and I'll get built back up. And then, of course, there's reserve, where you get to be pulled off the line completely and sit somewhere close to your headquarters, and you will be in reserve mode where you can rest up and your fatigue will drop. And also, your commander will have the ability, your corps commander, that would be in this case, or army command, whoever your higher command is, will have the ability to use you in support of a defense or an attack. And if you throw a reserve in on the defensive side, it's a massive boost. It's less of a boost on the offensive side, but you still get a boost. And that is situationally dependent upon what your commander does. Now, in this case, they report to the 12th British Corps. If you click on that, it highlights it. It's right here. And the blue, the units in blue around it are its subordinates. Okay. And then up here, 715, it is 7 hexes from its command unit, which is right here. That is the 2nd British Army. And it's as long as it's within 15 hexes, it's within range. And you click that, and then you get the 2nd British Army is now active up here. And you see the corps that report to it. We got an American over here. And we have British here and a British here, right? And if you click on the unit itself, you can come in here and you can see who's assigned to it. It's got the 5th U.S. Corps, the 1st British Corps, the 8th British Corps, and the 12th British Corps all report to this particular army group. Or the 2nd British Army, I'm sorry. And that 2nd British Army reports to the 21st British Army Group, who's under General Bernard Paget. And then you see his ratings here as well. And so if you come down and you go to, say, the 2nd British Army, it's under General Anderson, etc. Right? So that's how you can kind of drill in. If you want to see who's commanding the 1st Canadian Army, General McNaughton, you get the picture. Right? So those are your leaders, and you can actually move leaders using your admin points. And let me go back to, let's just go here. So 12th Corps, they are under Montague G.N. Stopford. If we open him up, his dismissal cost is 7. So if we don't like his performance and we want to kick him out and replace him with someone else, it would cost us 7 admin points. So you can, all your generals are rated, and you can assign them generally within a certain range, as put here. Restrictions, he can only command ground units, which is fine. He's a army general. And his maximum command is an army group. So right now he is commanding a corps. In theory, he could be promoted up to command an army group. Right? So that's him. And if we could use our mini map here, and we go to Libya. Let's see. Zoom out, man. Where are they? Where's my 8th Army? Oh, that's right. I'm late. Oh, weather. You can look at your weather as well. That's actually hotkey W. Sometimes I lose my mind and use the WASD keys, your WASD keys. Oh, Sparta. This is Sparta. Wrong side of the Ionian Sea here. This is Sicily. Right? So in here, this is the main show right now. Okay, so here's our 13th British Corps, part of the 8th British Army. You can see they are out of command range, 28 hexes away, because their command army is sitting on Malta. Okay, this is the 8th British Army, under the command, as most people probably know at this point in the war, they were under the command of Bernard Montgomery. So here's old Monty with his ratings, right? He can be high command. So in theory, we could replace Eisenhower with Montgomery. His dismissal cost is a rather low 8. If we went up to, let's go up to go up there, and then we'll go up to the main show, the big guy, the man in charge, Dwight David Eisenhower. His dismissal cost is 22. You have to pack some serious political clout to remove Ike from high command. But if you did, you could in theory promote anybody under him, whether that's Bradley or Alexander or Montgomery or even Patton. I'm not even sure Patton can go up that high, but as long as their max command is high command, you can make that happen. All right. I can really go down into the weeds and go on with this forever. I think a better use of everyone's time would probably be for me to stop now and pick this up as a playthrough down the road. Also, I'm losing my voice, as you can probably tell, so I need to stop talking. So what I'm going to do is wrap this up. I did want to give you a little bit of an overview. Obviously, this is the alternate history setup. And I don't think I have Fog of War turned on. I don't, because we can actually see. So let's go over to the Axis side. Now I'm set up to command the Allies, so I can't really look at this in the kind of detail I want to. But here we have an Italian. There's 2 units here. We've got the 3rd Brigade of the 164th Panzer Grenadier Division and the 6th Italian Army, right? Then we have the 16th Italian Corps here. I don't see any German HQs on Sicily right now. That may be up here. So here's a German headquarters, 5th Panzer Army, and the 90th Corps. Here we have, maybe in Rome. What's this one? Okay, Army Group C. So if I had joined this or if I had started this as being the Axis commander, it would have been a little less interesting from not being able to see some of the air stuff because of the strategic bombing, but it would have allowed us to see where Rommel is in this alternate timeline. But anyway, what we would then do here, before I really sign off, is we have amphibious forces. This is the Task Force 545 British Amphibious Headquarters, reports to Eisenhower. And this is its target for the invasion. And if you click the invade button, it's going to launch the invasion. Now, we also have a prep number here, prep 56. You want that prep number to be as high as possible. Now, these are the 2 units that it would be carrying. The 231st British Infantry Brigade and the 50th British Infantry Division will be embarked on this task force and will land at 153-295. Now, you might wonder where that is. It is somewhere over here. 154, 153, 295 is probably right here. 150. Oh, it's here. So they're going to land at Noto. So they're going to jump on their boats and they're going to sail out of, what is this? Seuss, I guess. And they're going to sail up to Note, and they're going to Noto rather, and land their men here. And there are several of those as well, sprinkled about. Some of them are further around the corner here. We also have some airborne forces down here as well. That would be also taskable, right? We have the 82nd Airborne here, 3 different brigades, and we can plot somewhere for them to drop into Sicily. We don't have that set up yet, but we can do so if we wish. So as you move around, here's another amphibious task force. This has the 1st Canadian Division on it and the 51st British Infantry Division. And this is tasked for 154-296. So same area, kind of that southeastern side of Sicily. The Americans, I believe, land a little bit further west. And let's find the Americans. Yeah, Task Force 86, 3rd U.S. Infantry Division. They are going to land at 146-293. So that would be to the west. And if you click on this, you can change the target. So if we click on it and you put yes, it's going to show you where you can land. They light up in green. Right? And over here, so they were 146-293, which is right here. So we could keep that the same by just clicking that, and then that's where they would land. So we will do that in a future video. I am going to start this up, and I might not play North Africa only because the North African campaign, while interesting, does not lead into the rest of the war. So while I could play that through and it would be a shorter thing, it's 30-something turns, it might be fun to just play the whole war in the West, maybe. I don't know. I'll think about it. Feel free to let me know what you think. Do you think I should play the North African campaign and just stop? Or should I just start with Husky and play out, the war that way, or even play this with the bulked up Axis forces, thanks to Hitler being out of the picture, the Germans putting up a bigger fight, or a better fight, I guess, or just the the vanilla one where we start with Husky and fight the war. So let me know what you think. I'm always interested to hear what the viewers think. I hope you remember the keyword from earlier in the video. It is a place that is located on this map as we see it right now. So somewhere around here it is a city, and it is located on this map. Right what we're looking at right now. Somewhere on here. I won't say it again because people will go to the end and say he's going to save it for the end, and guess what? You're wrong. All right? So go back and find it. Watch some of it. I made myself hoarse doing this. The least you can do is watch it. All right, whatever. If I don't get 10, then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But hopefully 10 people will watch long enough to get the keyword and slap it in there, and then everybody's going to see it, and there'll be a bunch of copycats. So hopefully you'll get it early enough, I guess is what I'm saying. But that's going to do it for now. Again, thank you for watching. It's definitely appreciated. Please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff like I always say. If you are a subscriber, thank you very much for the support. We are done. I will do a live stream at some point, hopefully not in the not too distant future, but that remains TBD at the current time. So that's it. I'm done. This is Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe, and until next time, as always, happy gaming.